This is Level Up Success Podcast with Neth and Truth.
Hey, how you doing, friends and family? This is the Level Up
Success Podcast.
and welcome to another episode where we always bring knowledge and power to our listener. So tell me now, how we gonna start this now?
Hey, how you guys doing today, man? I hope you guys are doing awesome. We're doing great here. And, I have awesome guest today, and, we're gonna share of a new topic today. So, before we talk about that, why don't you give us your name and your background?
Hi, I'm Lisnerva, or Liz for short. I give it to you in Spanish. And I'm from Washington Heights, born and raised. Mommy and daddy are from Dominican Republic. One of 4 kids. 32 years old, birthday March 8th. Proud millennial right here. And yeah, born and raised in New York.
So what part of New York do you...
You said she's from the Heights, bro.
Yo,
from the Heights,
don't
bro.
be
You
hitting
missed
on
it,
Washington
bro.
Heights. What is wrong with you? Not the Lin Manuel, Washington Heights, okay? In the Heights.
Yeah.
How was it for you growing up in the Heights?
Oh, I loved it. I think I grew up with a lot of music because, of course, if you go to live in Washington Heights, there's a predominantly Dominican population.
Yeah.
But if you go on the other side, then there's a lot of Jewish people there. So that's the quieter side. But I kind of like the loud side. I grew up in front of a high school, actually. That was fun. Parking was not fun. So, yeah, it was nice. And, I remember this one time. This wasn't the Washington Heights. This was, Dykeman. There was, this inflatable pool outside. I'm like, yo, only Dominicans will pull this out right now. I got this inflatable pool right now.
I'm not even
just
surprised
saying.
what you said. I'm not even surprised. What?
And look, I didn't even mention the dominoes because that's normal. I don't mention the barbecues. That's normal. But that inflatable pool was like a force. So yeah.
That was new for you. It was like,
And I'm
okay.
like, oh God. No, clearly that got shut down real quick. They're like, you cannot have an inflatable pool in the middle of the block. Go to the pool,
Was it a big pool? I don't know why I'm asking.
It was
but-
big enough, yeah. It was
wow.
it was big enough for a good amount of people to get in there.
wow.
It was big enough to disturb the peace. So,
Basically.
so guys, do not no inflatable pools out there, right?
No, thank
All right, cool. So, what is it that you do?
I am a librarian, or the proper title is library media specialist. Got to make it fancy for you guys.
Okay, I mean, coincidence is you lived in front of the school.
Yeah, I know. I lived in front of. Well, I don't want to tell you where that lived. That's too much information, right?
Yeah.
Hold up. I lived in front of the school, but I never really thought about being that, But it kind of works out for me because I was growing up, I was really geeky, was all about reading. I'll go in my corner, read a book. When Harry Potter came out? Yeah, I would buy it every time a new one came out, and I would read it the same day because I loved reading so much. Yeah, so I think it's not something that I necessarily thought of then, but it kind of fits my personality more, thinking about it,
Okay, what made you decide that hey, this is the career that I wanna take? Because I know it started with the Harry Potter books, but what prepared you to say, you know what, man, this is the career I want to take?
I'm going to be a librarian. Well, actually, this wasn't necessarily my choice. So in my school, we have had a library for years, and we never really used it, right? So we have this beautiful big space. It's dusty. Everyone comes there. There's a bunch of garbage and stuff. So we got a grant or someone to agree to redo the library, but they had a condition. You need to have a licensed librarian there. So at that point, my boss was just like, hey, there's this program. It's called Teacher to Librarian. I think you'd be really good for it. Mind you, he already told me to apply to this other program, but I'm like, all right. So I applied and I got in, and that's how I got into it. So that wasn't necessarily on my radar at all.
Well, since you did the license to being a librarian, is there a requirement to read certain type of book or a certain amount of book? Because
No.
I figured because I seen shows where librarians know every single book.
Don't stereotype the librarians, man. Come on. Come on. I don't even got glasses on to show you in the tight, but no. Come on, no. We got to update that a little bit, just a little bit.
Wait, so you wasn't in the library with the glasses? And
No,
the buns and
I like to wear Converses, guys. Just say, I draw the line at jeans, but no, not at all. No, there's actually a misconception about that. I when I first got into it, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna be the person going, shh, like stop talking, read the books, shh, stop talking. No, but that's not what it's really about at all.
So you have to be quiet when you're in the library?
Not in my necessarily. You got to keep it down, but not necessarily in my library. Yeah.
Oh, okay. At least you could talk a little bit, though. Because I've been... Okay, when I was younger, I haven't been in the library. I don't remember.
Like no, I mean a lot has changed, and you know that's what I want to like talk about. Like what has been like because I know back then when I used to go to the library, you know you go to the library, you know you have to pick out a book. There wasn't computers or
Yeah,
the
you're
computers
right.
started coming in a bit later.
Yeah.
So like how's that transition like to that? Because you know like are more people, do you see more people going to libraries now or they going less because now you know we got computers now?
Yeah, I think with the transition, that's a good question. I think it kind of goes with the job. So think about it. I told you that the title is like library media specialist, not just librarian, right? And that tells you right there that it's not just books, right? If you think about it, when you used to go to the library, you'd be like, hey, how do I find this, right? And they'll help you find whatever you're looking for. It's about information, right? It's about showing people how to get information, showing people how to find that information. So in library school, I wasn't told, shh, stop, tell the kids to be quiet. No. I was told, hey, this is how you show them how to research and how to look up things. And these are the keywords and these are the different types of searches that you can teach them. So that wasn't necessarily it at all. And that's why, like, when I got into the program, I'm like, whoa, like this, it blew my mind because I'm like, yo, this is not what I thought a librarian was. I thought it was something different. So in terms of the transition, if you think about what we live in the library, believe it or not, oftentimes it's a space for people who are homeless that can go in. You know, and there are people. It serves as different places that people can go into as a resource. So I think that right there has expanded. I mean, if you think about it, oh wait, I got to do a pause. Hold up. All right, I'm talking fast. I stopped.
No, you're going good. You're going good. It's fine.
Yeah. So no, I slow myself down because sometimes I go blah, 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 blah. So anyway, sorry.
Nah, you good.
No, but I was saying, so sometimes like I think we gotta expand how we view things because it's not just books, it's information. And I think if you view it that way, it'll completely change the way you look at libraries. I'll give you an example. A library close to where I work, it has computers, yeah. It has a beautiful children's section. But you know what they have in that children's section? They have games for the kids to like build stuff. In the downstairs, they have a maker space. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
No.
Not really, no.
Enlighten us.
So a maker space is just having a bunch of materials and stuff that you can create. So they can have robotics. You can have like wood things that you can build something. You can have like things simple as tissue paper that you can make things. Like we took our kids there, our students, and they built a moving car with like a battery and some other stuff, but it's about making and creating, right? So I think you wouldn't necessarily think you'll find that in a library, right?
That's pretty dope, actually.
Yeah.
For kids, yeah.
How will more people from the community could get to know about that? Because you say most of the students that you see, is it mostly from school or?
Yeah, because I'm in the school library, right? So I partnered with the neighboring library before, and we created.
Okay.
Yeah, so like there's partnership, but I'm based in the school, so I see only the students. But I always tell people, go to the library because people don't think of it as a resource. You know that there's certain libraries that help you prepare your taxes and they help you look for jobs. If you need to look for a job, they'll help like with resume. So people don't think about that because at the end of the day, remember what I told you, it's information, right? And information entails many things, not just books, right? So that's the key.
So we gotta just change the mindset of what a library is. Because like you said, most people like me right now, we just think it's just books. No. And that's way more than books.
No, we gotta get people into these libraries because I mean, and like I said, it just seems like people are going less because of you know they have technology now. We could go use our computers. We could use our phones now. You know, so
I wouldn't think they were going less. I actually think now because they've expanded what you actually do in a library, I think that it's making the case for libraries to stay, right? So I agree that, yes, you have your phone and you can search for stuff. But how oftentimes, like how many people know what you're getting or what you're reading is like good information, right? Like, you know how there's like those fake news and like you see things and you're like, oh, is that real? No. But then, like, that's what you get from libraries, like, or a librarian or a library media specialist. They can show you, like, listen, I need you to check who's writing that, where's that coming from, is that good information, is that reliable information, is that unreliable? So I hear what you're saying, but no, I don't think that is making, like, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word. That's not making libraries obsolete at all.
Okay.
I think there's a need, and there's going to remain a need because it's expanded, right?
Yeah, because like you said, a lot of people don't know that not everything in the internet facts. There's people, it's regular people putting on stuff and giving out their opinions.
Think of Wikipedia, right? Like, you know that we can edit that page. That's why I tell my kids all the time, listen, like, my kids, I mean my students, I tell them, yo, do not put Wikipedia. Why? It gives me everything, because I can write that information. But you know everything. No, I do not, okay? I got to search for that stuff too, you know?
Yeah.
So,
No, there's people that believe they know everything.
I know, man. And people, you got to take several seats, okay?
So I mean, I have a question, right? We're living in a world where, you know, like, you know, we have media, we have social media, we have, you know, like, all these apps that now we could use, you know, on computers. A lot of people are, you know, watching videos, you know, like through YouTube and other devices, and, you know, a lot of movies and things like that. My question to you is, what is the importance of getting a lot of people to reading again? Because a lot of people are not reading. I mean, is that am I accurate with that?
I feel, okay, so like in library school, I guess I'll put it that way, right? It was interesting because we talked about how teachers try to force kids to read certain things, right? They don't let them read what they want to read. Or if they're reading what they want, it's not hard enough, right? It's not level. Like, you know, graphic novels, you know what those are?
Yeah.
They're like, they look kind of like comic books, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. My kids love that. Like, they love reading that. But a lot of teachers like, yo, can you not have them read that? I'm like, but they chose to read it. So I think is getting people engaged, is showing them that there's books for them that, one, they can see themselves. Because a lot of the times, like before, like a lot of kids were reading these books, but you didn't see black and brown kids on these books. And now there's like a concerted effort to really like represent these kids, right? And make things that they enjoy. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think it's just showing them that it's fun, right? Like, it's not everything is all visual. Like, I'm not with this TikTok era where everything is like 30 seconds and they lose their like things. But it's just knowing that I'm not also going to force that same kid to get this book that's on their level if they want to choose the Spider-Man comic book and stuff, right?
We have, and I mean, and you know, I say this because I always think, I don't know, I always bring up H because he brought up some golds, like when some gems when he came down here. But you know, like one of the quotes that, because he's about quotes, so one of the quotes that he says that if you wanna keep a secret, just write a book, because ain't nobody reading books right now.
You know, yes and no, right? I think people are actually reading books. It's just, what do you think they're reading? Like me personally, I read all the time, but I'm not gonna read here because half the time that I read is not to think. I just want to like decompress and like shut off from everything. And that's the same thing with the kids. So they're renovating my library, right? And I had to like. The reason that it was big for me to be a part of it, it became a lending library, meaning the kids could actually take out books from the library. The kids like, yo, Miss Blank. Like, should I say my last name? I don't know. Miss Blank, where are you? Can we take out books? Oh, I'm sorry. Really? I'm like, but you got to give me the books that you took out already. Give them back. So it's like, I think that's not completely accurate, right?
Okay.
There's a big market for books right now. And the thing is, there's also digital books, right? And that's the major as well. Like, you don't see kids necessarily taking up paper copies. But the digital market, there's so many different organizations and websites that have digital books that I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
Do I think there needs to be more? Yes. Do I think that we need to encourage? Yeah. I don't think everyone's reading, but to say that, you know, it's not going to get out, no, I don't think that's true. Right.
Yeah, because I mean, and all I'm stating is like, since we have so much options now, like, you know, like now we got Netflix, we got Hulu, we got like, what else?
But I'm gonna ask you something.
Yeah.
How many people have access to that? right? And not everyone has Netflix. Not everyone and I know everyone and their mother shares passwords to Netflix.
Yo, I was about to say the same thing right now. I'm like, you think I'm paying for my Netflix account?
You think I'm paying for my? No, my
Wow, I feel bad.
All right, man. So, yo, later on, man, we might have to share some credentials.
Sorry. My point is, like, actually, there's not a lot of people who have access to computers and iPads and certain things. So I think we forget that because we see it everywhere. We think that everyone has, but that's not true. There's so many kids that, come on, the pandemic happened and we had to revert to digital learning. And they're like, damn, like, how are we getting these kids connected? How are we getting these kids to learn? You know how much iPads deal we had to buy and pay for it? And even yet, like, you have the iPad, they didn't have internet access or they weren't paying for that. So I think even despite the fact that there's so much media, even like things like, let me think of something. I'm trying to think of a popular show. Which is popular on, like, think of Stranger Things.
I was just about to, like, I don't know what's going on here, but I was just thinking about that. That series is like dope. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I just got into it.
Yeah.
And I was like hooked. Like, well, the first season I was forced to kind of watch it. I was like, but then I was kind of thinking, like, man, if I was younger, like, this remind me like of the Goonies, or where
the Goonies was a classic.
Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of that. So I kind of forced myself to watch the first season, but then the second season coming on, I'm like, okay, you know what? The last season is fire. Have you seen it?
Don't tell me nothing.
You haven't seen it?
I have to catch up.
Yo, I'm telling you, like, it's fire. Like, but all right, sorry.
My point that I was gonna go with that, besides that, was just like, there's so much vocabulary in that, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that I feel like if you don't have context or if you don't have the words, you're not gonna enjoy it as much, or you're not gonna, like, really get into it, right? Because you had that background that you can enjoy it, right? I bet you if you put on subtitles, like, whoa. I mean, even if anyone puts on subtitles, how much more reading those kids will be doing, right? So I think it's just like those kinds of little switches that we don't think, like, man, like, yeah, there's a lot of media, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? I don't think that detracts from books or reading or literacy at all. I think if we view it as opportunities and think of it a little bit differently, then because, like, how many times do we know kids who, like, grew up in front of watching telenovelas, right? Yeah. Or, like, mom and dad had to go somewhere or they had to work late, so they put the TV on to watch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's ideal, but I'm also saying it's also reality too, right? And it's different, I think, from before now, because now we have, like, the really fast TikToks on phones and iPads. The kids get bored and, like, doing that. So it's just, I think there's opportunities. I do think that we need to educate our families more about the things about media. But I don't think that we're going to change everything overnight. So we got to use what we have, right?
So, you said that you was reading Harry Potter books, right? Mm-hmm. You read them before.
Hell yeah, I haven't watched all the movies.
Okay.
No, thank you.
So I was about to ask you another question, but
about the movie.
You haven't seen all the movies. So
I saw the first one and, like, the fourth one, and then I'm like, the books are better, so I stopped.
The ones that you have seen, right? Like, the movies that you've seen. When you saw them, right? Like, was there, like, a big difference from what you read and imagined versus what you saw in the movie theater? Like,
with Harry Potter, I actually think they did a good job. I don't think it was completely off. There's other adaptations that I'm just like, I don't even want to watch this because I know I'm not going to be happy.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think, like, there's lots of movies that are adapted. There's even movies that are just based, right, on certain. Oh wait, I'm trying to think. All right, like Bridgerton. Right, that was huge with people.
Yeah.
I haven't read that. I don't know what her writing style is, but that they changed things with that one, right? Mm-hmm. But people have loved the adaptation. Like, think of the music. Think of, like, you guys might not have seen it, but they use a lot of modern music in that. So I think there's certain things that are fine. Or even Jane Austen, which was, like, big with people. Some of the adaptations for her are good. I'm trying to think of authors. I don't like Diary of a Wimpy Kid because those books annoy me, so I refuse to watch it.
Okay. I read some of the books.
My students like them. I'm like, I hate this book. Oh, why don't you take out this book instead? No. Besides the point, I hate that book because it's like a whiny kid. A whiny middle school kid.
But that's how they did it in the movie too.
Yeah, a whiny middle school white kid. Okay, let me rephrase that, all right? These are not, that's not my, I'm like, guys, come on. No. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's what I meant by like having kids represented, and that's not, to me, representative of them.
No, that makes sense.
I'm sorry, but I hate that book. I hate it, Book of Passion.
So
So back to your question,
go ahead.
not all adaptations are bad. But for the most part, I do think that the books are always going to be better because you have more detail. You have, like, let's say, a certain amount of pages. How much can you give within, like, an hour 20, or not 2 hours? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not saying they're bad, right? Some are better than others.
No, because they be cutting. Sorry to interrupt. Sometimes they be cutting part from the book because they ran out of time because of the minute. But
Sometimes it makes sense, though. Like, it doesn't detract from the story. Like, sometimes they cut it and then, like, oh, okay. Like, they cut this part, but it's okay. Like, it made sense and, like, it didn't take away from the story. Because it's storytelling. Like, media, movies is everything. That's still storytelling. It's just different, right? It's just not written word, right? It's visual.
no, that's the thing. Like if they go by every page of the book, it would be like a 3-hour movie, I'm guessing. I mean, it depends on the book too. But I they heard before about certain movies they do change a lot from the original book.
Yeah,
So,
I had one and I can't think of it because there's so many. Like,
yeah,
there's
I don't
so many
remember
of them.
either. But
I don't remember. I'm just trying to think of one that's really bad. Oh, gosh, I'm ashamed I read these, but yeah, I read the Twilight series. The Glistening Vampire and the werewolf.
yeah,
Twilight,
but
yeah.
those movies were
God.
popular.
Yeah, but they weren't. That was.
The
okay.
book wasn't good.
Her writing sucked. Sorry.
Oh man.
Wow.
Okay.
Tough.
My real opinion coming out. Sorry. No, because I think J.K. Rowling, despite her controversies and everything, I think she's a good writer. But yeah. Or even like, what's that sexy one? 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
That one was slightly like, you're just like, even, I didn't read that one either, but I'm just like, okay, sure. So if you look at like the subject matter there and like what they made, you're just like, all right, I guess.
Yeah. No, there were people who were disappointed at it. I mean, other people liked it, but
Because of the casting, who they cast as who they were. So it's just like sometimes you envision this character as looking a certain way, but that's not what is cast. Like there's a lot of controversy with like Halle Bailey being Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's like an African American young woman, and well, the Little Mermaid that we've seen is not.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're doing that a lot, and I don't know what people are getting mad.
Yeah, no, I mean they're using that for versification. Like it's like a lot of people want the change, and then the change happens, and now you're complaining about it. It's like you're never like humans are just never satisfied. I mean,
for me, it's not necessarily like physical. I feel like there's certain embodiment. Oh, here's a good one: not the Catcher in the Rye, Hunger Games. There were so many people talking about that one, but if you look at the book, Jennifer Lawrence should have been one big thinner, and she should have been darker. She wasn't, right? But they had a lot of issues with the little girl Rue. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Yeah. I know.
Amanda Sten. I don't know how to say her name. Amanda is her name. When I read that book, that only one, and she fit that character perfectly. But of course, people weren't happy because this young, light-skinned African American young child, but she was perfect for the role, right?
Yeah, man.
So to your point, not everyone's gonna be happy, but if you look at that interpretation, she fit the role how described. The main character, not as much, but everyone loves that series, yeah.
So there's a awesome career you chose. Like, do you feel? I mean, how do you feel about the career that you're taking now as being
How moving
what is
forward?
it? Library media specialist, man. I gotta write that down.
It's like a mouthful. That's
Yeah.
why I'm the librarian. That's why I say I'm the librarian. That's it.
All right, that's awesome. So, is there anything else that you're planning to do for the future? Like,
I mean, so
anything else?
I want to get my doctorate, and it's not necessarily to be a librarian, but I think because of the experience that I've had being in the library now, is kind of like leaning towards one way, right? What I do with my kids is not just take out books, right? We do projects, right? I have kids making stuff. I had kids research, because that's my big thing, finding information. And they had to design a house to withstand like bad weather conditions, hurricanes, tsunamis, right? They had to build it. So I want to go with that, which is more STEM focused, like science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So for me, it goes really well with what I do in the library because it's all about thinking. And so for the future, I envision I want to get my doctorate. I'm applying to a program now that's really about like taking a problem that's in your organization, for me in my school, and really trying to find a solution for that. For me, that goes back to like thinking. You got to change the way people view things. You got to change the way kind of like our kids are not thinking enough nowadays, right? Yeah. They're not problem solving. They're like, let's say you give them something, figure it out. They have so much difficulties just.
And it attests to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking you like the importance of reading, because it's like people are out here looking at somebody else's view of what they've read in a book. And you know they're not taking the time to read so they could imagine it for themselves.
Yeah.
So you know like it's kind of like it's causing this effect and reaction. Mm-hmm. You know with the kids. You know like they're not as focused because you know there's a lot of distraction. You know, like with these new technologies. So, you know, that's why I was saying, you know, the importance of reading a book, the importance of you know, maintaining. Well, you're saying that the libraries are expanding.
No, because I was about to say, it's not just like reading this book. I'm like, I go to my kids, I'm like, oh, you want to learn how to record? You want to do a podcast? You want to know? I can show you those things, right? Because remember, I have media specialists at my title too.
Exactly.
And it's just getting them to see how many other opportunities there are. Because I don't think they're resistant. I think this is just easy. You know, like how people go to fast food restaurants and like, yo, like this is easy. I don't got to cook. It's fast. I don't got time. I think it's the same thing with kids, right? Like, or in general, it's just instant gratification. So I think it's about giving them the skills and the tool set to really be able to kind of do it. Yeah. So I think that's what you could get in like a library with a librarian, right? So I think that's the shift.
Awesome.
I mean, it cannot be like also a fear that it's gonna be too hard. That's a thing because
you can't do that. Like if nothing worth doing in life is easy, right? And I think that at the end of the day, if you go with the mindset that, man, if I struggle, I gotta stop, then you're not gonna go anywhere.
No, I understand that part because I think we need to.
Oh no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, struggle is part of growth, right?
Yeah, but that's the part I think we have with our young kids right now because.
But that's what I mean. Like we don't let that. But that's not just on them. That's on like maybe educators, but everyone. Like we don't let them struggle. We don't let them like figure things out. We want them to do well. So we end up not letting them have the time to figure things out on their own, right? Like, and we take that away from them. And I think part of that, we need to give them the opportunity to have that productive struggle. Because how are you learning? How are you doing any better? But that's not just on them, though. I think that's across the board. Even with adults, like, don't we get frustrated when we can't do something right off the bat? I was trying to play, I think I was playing Multiverse the other day. It's a game on Xbox. It's free. And I'm like, come on, like, stop dying, character. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm so frustrated.
Bro, like, that reminds me of Street Fighter, bro. Like, you know when you had to be Bison? In Street Fighter 2?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yes.
Yo, that was crazy, man. You play Street Fighter 2, right? Because you looking kind of, like, confused, bro.
No, I was going to say.
Yo, like,
yo,
you know,
I'm
like looking at him like, yo, you play.
Like that.
You
Come
play.
on.
Nah, because he had to play Street Fighter 2.
No, I used to play.
Mortal Kombat? Get over here.
No, the Bison was a Shiva. I mean,
wait, what?
What?
Bison?
They had it in the highest level. That's why you
Yeah,
can
he's
never
the
be.
boss.
Oh, okay. I paused. I'm like, wait, he knows who's Bison is, right? I'm waiting.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, yo, hold up. We used to play Street Fighter together at some point, didn't we?
I don't know, but yeah, I know Street Fighter. I be watching retro video game all the time on YouTube. Yeah. That's my thing. So,
but the whole thing is just like I got frustrated. I'm like, come on, like I'm losing. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So it's just like, even as an adult, we gotta kind of get over that. Too,
I feel
right?
like I miss those type of games.
What I hate now, I'm gonna tell you something. And talking about instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
Like I hate that nowadays there's cheat codes on every game. Basically,
there is. You want to give me the one from Moni? You heard me? I'm taking notes. You ready?
As much
there used to be cheat code back in the day.
There's less,
too.
I think.
But not like now. I'm talking like like.
No, I think it's different now because we have so many like people like streaming and we have people who make their livelihoods like playing games and stuff.
Figuring it out, yeah.
Yeah, like,
you're
I'm-
doing it easy for people.
It was cool though. This is a side note, but I went to this conference in Florida, and there was this really cool like organization that they use gaming as an educational tool. So they go to schools, they game with the kids, and it was nice because, you know, like how there's like sports team. It's like the whole idea was like doing a sports mentality, like be a part of a team, but they game together, right? So I'm just like, ooh, this is cool, this is nice. But that's my point. Like, there's different ways that we can.
Exactly. You know, no, and and it's just about how to project it, man. Because that's the thing. Like, we gotta show our kids, right? Like, you know, the new generation, like how to figure things out for themselves. Because that's what's going on right now. Like we getting all these answers, but now we don't strive to try to figure things out on our own. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's a problem that we're having, and that's something that, you know, like one of the projects you could work on, you know, to try to figure out.
But that's the same thing. Like, I could Google it, right? Or I can find it here, or I can go on the internet, and it's not really us thinking about the issues, right? It's us finding, like you said, like someone else. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, that's part of why this is so important, right?
Yeah.
Remember, it's thinking people how to think and find information.
Yeah, people think they just Google everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I Google every day
Me too.
So
Me too.
it's easy. No, and it's good to have, but it's just all I'm saying is, as far as, and this is my mind process, right? We want to show our kids to try to figure certain things out, so that when they become adults, we're gonna have all these perks, but you get to decide to, you know, move on things that you want to move on, rather than now looking at somebody else's version of doing something. You know what I mean? So that's just basically where I'm getting at. It's like we're just living in a world where we just, you know, copying everybody else.
But now that we know that, though, now we gotta adapt, right? So in terms of teaching, or in terms of like libraries, that's why you've seen so many places adapting to these changes, right?
Yeah, man.
I mean, think about it. Like, now look at the trains. Like, aren't we doing like the Metro card now that you could just tap? Yeah, you could just tap and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a digital world. We're becoming more and more digital, and, you know, with that comes a lot of things, losing jobs. It comes with a lot of stuff. So now, how are we preparing everyone for it? Not just the kids. How are we preparing ourselves too, you know?
No, I mean, we got this podcast, man. We trying to prepare.
We ready.
For
we
what,
ready.
right?
We ready for the apocalypse.
No, we're preparing people. That's the thing we try to do. So
you're serving facts and knowledge. Boom. Drop mics. Oh, yeah,
awesome.
drop the mic.
no, I always say knowledge is power. So I'm listening always.
Yeah. So now, I mean, when you get your doctorate and, you know, you figure out these projects, man, we definitely would like to see you back here and, you know, give us some of your knowledge. All right. So hey, man, it was a pleasure. Is there anything that you wanna add, Truth?
Now, before I end this, you got to give advice or any type of knowledge to our listener?
Any advice? Do you want me specifically library stuff or library?
No, it could be anything.
It could be library. I mean, that's you know, that's the.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing is just like what I learned mostly from the pandemic is like you kind of have, one, you have to live your life, and two, you got to let go of fear, and that nothing should really be holding you back from things that truly make you happy. Like, we've learned that people that you are with today are not necessarily going to be here tomorrow. So in terms of like not just library stuff but life, I think we should go for the things that we really want and make us happy, right? For me, it's really educating little people and making sure they're ready, but that could be many different things for people. So I think if I had to leave one thing, live in your happy, live in your truth. And I think choose that path forward, because at the end of the day, you got one life. Una vida, one life. So live it, right? But that's nothing to do with library. So that's why I asked.
No,
that was actually beautiful.
Okay, so like I would say, thank you for listening. And don't forget to follow us at levelupsuccesspodcast.poppy.com. And if you cannot listen from the website, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Samsung Podcasts, and any music app that you could think of.
Yeah, and we also on YouTube, so you know, like you could see us every Friday. We post on YouTube, so we do have that as well, guys. You know, for the guys that want to, you know, watch the visuals. All right, so guys, you know, like we out here leveling up, and you know, just want to give you guys peace out. Deuces. All right.
Out.
All right. Awesome.